Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Audric Cashmere with Moonhaven Falls Crystal Network. A chilling and unnaturally dense fog has enveloped the southern border of Moonhaven Falls, bringing with it an ominous wave of potential undead activity. Reports from outlying farms and patrols speak of shambling figures, spectral visions, and other foul creatures emerging from an oppressive mist, eyes fixed with malevolent intent. The normally tranquil region surrounding Moonhaven Falls is now gripped by fear, as what appears to be the risen dead are encroaching upon civilized lands. Livestock have been reported missing, homesteads are supposedly besieged, and the mournful moans of the undead echo through a once peaceful countryside. In response to this escalating crisis, the esteemed guilds of Moonhaven Falls, the Brave Swords Guild, the Wise Mages Conclave, and the Nimble Figure League have jointly announced a substantial bounty for any capable adventurers who are willing to brave this perilous fog and quell the undead threat. Elder Alara Meadowlight, of the Wise Mages Conclave, has declared during an emergency town meeting, Moonhaven Falls has always been a beacon of safety. We will not stand idly by as darkness creeps upon our doorstep. To any brave soul willing to test their mettle against this unholy tide, the guilds are offering generous rewards for each undead creature vanquished, and for any information leading to the source of this unnatural phenomenon. Announced bounties are as follows. For any skeletal or zombified remains, they are currently offering 1 gold piece. Ghouls and Rights are worth 15 gold pieces per identifiable remain. Spectre and Wraith are worth 25 gold pieces per relinquished spectral remains. And for information leading to the source of the fog and undead, a reward of no less than 500 gold pieces and a potential land grant from Lord Kendrick himself. Adventurers are advised to exercise extreme caution when venturing into the fog. Visibility is said to be near zero, and the apparitions seem to possess an unnatural resilience and furiosity. It is recommended to travel in well-equipped parties, and to come prepared with both martial prowess and arcane countermeasures. Interested parties are urged to register with their respective guilds here in Moonhaven Falls for detailed mission briefings, and to collect their bounties upon the presentation of verifiable proof of their deeds, such as skeletal fragments or spectral essences. The safety and security of Moonhaven Falls depends on the swift action of brave adventurers. So, heed the call, sharpen your steel, prepare your spells, and venture into the fog. The fate of Moonhaven Falls may well rest in your hands. For more information, please contact Master Boren Stonebeard, Guildmaster of the Brave Swords Guild, Archmage Lyra Swiftwood of the Wise Mages Conclave, or Mistress Anya Shadowfoot of the Nimble Finger League, here in Moonhaven Falls. Up next, a very special interview with our very own intern, Timmy. Take it away, Timmy.
Welcome back to the Crystal Network, the only station brave enough to venture beyond the walls. Today we have a very special guest on the station. It's a pillar from the adventuring community, the leader of, well, let's just say a very enthusiastic young group, and someone who's recently found herself knee-deep to a rather unusual meteorological event. Please welcome Sally Jinks.
Hi everyone. Thanks for having me. It's quite the honor.
And with Sally, the fighting force behind the super fun time adventure force. Please put your spectral hands together for the one and only Gary.
Greetings. It is quite encouraging to be here.
Now, Gary, your group, formerly known as the Spooky Fun Time Adventuring Guild, what a rebranding, by the way. Harry recently encountered a rather perplexing situation involving a rather thick fog in the south of the town. Can you tell our listeners about what happened?
Oh, yes. Well, we were on a routine quest to, retrieve some enchanted garden gnomes. Very important business, that. And we were traveling through this area that we thought was just a bit misty, but it got thicker. Like, really thick. Could not see your fingers in front of your face.
What happened when you entered this unnatural fog? Rumors have been swirling around the taverns. Whispers of unusual properties.
Oh, unusual is putting it really mildly. I'd say it felt cold. Not just chilly, but like the air itself was sighing with the weight of forgotten ages, and it smelled faintly of, well, old parchment and regret.
An accurate assessment. The residual emanations of a minor planar tear. Nasty business, that.
A planar tear? That doesn't sound good. So what happened when you entered this unnatural fog?
Well, some of the children got separated, of course. Barnaby, the barbarian, kept yelling about needing more smashy smashy to clear the fog, which, wasn't helping. And Ilara, the elf, kept muttering about disruptions to the natural energies. Me? I walked into a tree.
Understandable. But Gary, as the leader, what was your experience? Did your unique perspective offer any special insights into the fog?
My millennia of existence has exposed me to far more interesting atmospheric phenomena than the children have seen. This particular fog possessed a very faint temporal distortion. For young Jinx, it may have felt like minutes, but for a being such as myself, brief glimpses of potential futures flickered at the edges of my awareness. Unpleasant, but ultimately insignificant.
Potential futures? That sounds rather ominous. Did you foresee anything concerning?
Let's just say that the probability of gnome-related world domination has, slightly increased.
The gnomes are gonna take over? Oh no!
All right then. How would the Super Fun Time Adventure Force? Still getting used to the name, Gary. Manage to navigate to this temporal, possibly gnome-empowered fog.
Well, Gary, he did this really cool thing. He, closed his eyes and started chanting in this language that sounded like rocks grinding together, and then his eyes started glowing green, and then these little wisps of purple energy came off him, and they all sort of kinda guided us back. It was amazing.
A minor application of dimensional resonance. Basic stuff, really. Though Jinx's description is certainly, enthusiastic.
Wise words from both guests. Modesty becomes you, Gary. So the gnomes were retrieved, the planner was presumably mended, and the Super Fun Time Adventure Force emerges victorious, though slightly damp, having apparently seen a potential gnome-led future. What lessons did you learn from this experience, Sally?
Always stick together? Ooh, maybe bring extra snacks because being lost in spooky fogs make you hungry.
How about the importance of rigorous magical training and the persistent long-term threat of the diminutive folk?
Oh, yeah, that too.
Okay, Gary. Would you like to comment on the rumors that the fog was actually created by the members of the Super Fun Time Adventure Force?
I cannot comment at this time. I can tell you that I did not create the fog, and while I am fairly certain that none of the children did either, there are some I need to have a conversation with about the dangers of playing with magic above their level.
Very sage advice for all of our listeners as well. One more thing before I let you go. Now, this is just something that I have been incredibly curious about. Can you share with our listeners why the name keeps evolving?
We found a distinct lack of menacing undertone to be helpful. That spooky, was perhaps being limiting. We aim for fun. Super fun, in fact. Adventuring should be a joyous occasion, filled with camaraderie, thrilling discoveries, and the occasional well-deserved loot.
So, will this be the last name for the forest?
Likely not. It still does not have the right ring to it.
Gary, thank you for coming and speaking with me today.
And thank you for having me. I very much appreciate a chance to speak my piece.
We'll be back soon, so don't go anywhere, folks.
Settle in, everyone, because tonight's tale comes from the dimly lit corners of the Lost Realms, and straight from the smoky haze of the Green Unicorn Inn. Now, the Green Unicorn is known for a few things: strong ale, stronger patrons, and games of chance that can leave you richer, or regretting your life choices. But last night took the copper piece. Our story begins with a group of adventurers, the kind you see popping up in a bar after a long day of, adventuring. There was Boren Stonebeard, a dwarf with a beard longer than my arm, and a thirst to match; Larkin Tailbinder, a half-elf ranger whose aim with the longbow is legendary, and his tolerance for dwarven spirits significantly less legendary; and Fitz Featherbottom, the gnome illusionist who, bless his pointy little heart, gets tipsy on elderflower wine. Now, these three get themselves involved in a drinking game, and not just any drinking game, mind you. This was Riven's Breath. It's a concoction that Josie, the owner of the inn, brews herself. It's something that smells vaguely of burnt rubber and tastes a bit like regret, mixed with a hint of, no one's quite sure what. The rules are simple, though. Down a tankard, answer a riddle posed by one of the others, and, if you fail at either, take another. Boren, as expected, was holding his own, booming out answers to riddles about mountain goats and the proper way to polish battle axes. Larkin started off strong, even correctly identifying a particularly obscure bit of elvish poem that Fitz tried to pass off as a riddle. And then came Fitz's turn. He slurred out a riddle about a chicken and a locked door, something that made absolutely no sense, even before the 10th tankard of Riven's Breath. Larkin, bless his increasingly blurry vision, took another swig. And then another. And then another. Things, shall we say, devolved a bit. Boren started arguing with a potted fern, convinced that it was a disguised druid. Fitz attempted to cast Minor Illusion, which resulted in a swarm of slightly translucent, giggling squirrels appearing above the bar, much to the confusion of a rather large, hairy barbarian in the corner. The real spectacle, however, was Larkin. Now, Larkin is usually as graceful as a deer in the forest. After about his 7th Riven's Breath, however, he seemed to believe that he was a deer. He started leaping over tables, attempting to nibble at patrons' ears, and, at one point, even tried rubbing antlers against Boren, mistaking his impressive beard for a particularly sturdy tree trunk. Now, Josie, bless her entrepreneurial spirit, saw an opportunity. She started taking bets on how many more tankards Larkin could manage before he attempted to sprout antlers. The odds, I hear, were not in Larkin's favor. Eventually, the city guard had to be called. Apparently a half-elf attempting to communicate with the bar cat through a series of increasingly loud clicks and whistles is considered disturbing the peace. So, the next time you find yourself down at the Green Unicorn Inn, adventurers, enjoy an ale, try your luck at dice, but maybe, just maybe, steer clear of the Riven's Breath drinking game. Unless, of course, you have a spare bail bond and a high tolerance for public humiliation. This story was brought to you by the Green Unicorn Inn, where adventurers go to unwind. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and beings from across the Lost Realms. After the letter from the mysterious TTT about the situation with Gary was read, there was an outpouring of support for our mysterious letter writer. With this in mind, we have chosen to read his latest letter about our newest situation as well. To To the good people of the Moonhaven Falls Crystal Network, I am writing to you today with a very urgent report and a growing sense of interdimensional dread about what is happening in Moonhaven. I know we have all been dealing with some unusual concerns lately, and I am afraid that I have some news straight from the source, direct from a correspondent in the elemental plane of water. You see, Splashy, pillar of our community, though perhaps a bit outside of norm, is currently on vacation with her dear friend Ignis, and while they were away, they have entrusted the day-to-day management of a few key infrastructure elements to Sheldon the Turtle. This, as it turns out, is a mistake of potentially catastrophic proportions. I have been in contact with Splashy, who is understandably quite distressed. From what I have gathered, Sheldon's attempts to help have actually had some rather dramatic side effects rippling across the plains. The most pressing issue, and the one most immediately affecting Moonhaven, involves the local tides. Splashy informs me that Sheldon has, in his own meticulous way, somehow managed to reconfigure the tidal flows into the sewers. We are no longer experiencing anything like the normal flow of water into or out of our sewers, and he has apparently decided to divert the water into the creek south of town instead of flowing through and allowing our sewers to function as they are supposed to. But the problems aren't confined to the sewers. Ignis, who is also currently on his way back from this ill-fated vacation, is reporting equally disturbing news. His attempts to monitor Moonhaven's thermal vents from afar are being hampered by what he describes as an unstable energy signature. He suspects Sheldon's meddling is to blame for this as well. Splashy and Ignis have decided to cut their vacation short, to return and attempt to rectify this situation. They send their deepest apologies and a healthy dose of interdimensional side-eye in Sheldon's direction. They say that they hope by the time they get back there will still be a Moonhaven to return to. I'm fairly certain they were just kidding about that. In the meantime, I personally urge everyone to exercise extreme caution, to avoid the sewers, and perhaps even consider investing in a good air purification spell, and, for the love of all that is holy, to not let Sheldon the Turtle be in charge of anything else. Sincerely, and with a growing sense of impending doom, T.T.T. Well, you heard it here, folks, and you heard it from our mysterious TTT. Perhaps it's time to look a little bit closer at our sewer system and give a little bit more love to its normal guardian. You heard it here on the Crystal Network. I greet you again, my lords and ladies. Greetings and thanks to our knights and adventurers. An amused hello to the thieves, the merchants, our fellow entertainers, and the citizens of all walks of life here in the Lost Realms. Welcome back to Crossroads Chronicles, where we shine a light on the most uplifting stories in the realm. Today we have a guest who's taking the entertainment scene by storm, one levitating chuckle at a time. He is a visionary with a unique perspective, and thankfully, he's brought along a very familiar voice to help us understand it all. Please welcome the aspiring stand-up sensation, Floopy the Flumph, and his esteemed interpreter, the ever-insightful mind flayer, Zelthar!
Greetings once more, auditory receptors. It is Floopy's pleasure to be here.
Floopy, it's a pleasure to have you. Zelthar, thank you once again for lending your linguistic talents. Floopy's foray into stand-up comedy is certainly generating a buzz. What inspired a Flumph to pursue the notoriously difficult art of making people laugh?
Floopy indicates that its existence prior to discovering the comedic art was one of passive observation, occasional psychic probing. It found the anxieties and absurdities of the humanoid interactions to be inherently amusing.
Well, I could see that. So, the inherent absurdity of us surface dwellers is your comedic fodder, Floopy?
Floopy clarifies that it finds humor in the incongruities, the gap between intention and execution, the illogical leaps in reasoning, the persistent fascination with footwear.
Well, you've certainly tapped a rich vein of material. How do you even begin performing stand-up? It's not like there are many comedy clubs with stages at Flumph eye level.
Necessity is the mother of invention. Floopy initially performed for small gatherings of more open-minded individuals. It would levitate to a comfortable height and project its observations telepathically. The reactions, particularly the involuntary twitches of amusement, were quite encouraging.
Telepathic stand-up? Well, that's certainly a unique delivery method. And how do you gauge the audience's reaction? Do you get mental laughter?
Loopy perceives a shift in the brainwave patterns associated with amusement. The subtle upturn of the mouth corners, the release of endorphins. These are all indicators of a successful jest.
Fascinating. And what kind of material does Floopy cover? Are there Flumph-centric jokes that we simply don't understand?
Floopy's material is surprisingly universal. It touches upon themes of interspecies communication, the challenges of navigating environments without legs, and, of course, the existential dread of being mistaken for a particularly buoyant jellyfish.
Why, jellyfish. Yeah, I could see some comedic potential there. Zelthar, as someone who is now interpreted for both a gelatinous cube artist and a Flumph comedian, what are your observations on these, unconventional career paths?
It highlights the unpredictable nature of sentient life, the desire for expression, for creation, even amusement, transcends species and physical form. It is a testament to the multifaceted nature of consciousness, and provides intriguing data.
Well said. Floopy, what are your aspirations in the world of comedy? Do you dream of headlining down at the Yawning Portal?
Loopy's ambitions are quite lofty. It envisions a world where laughter bridges the gaps between all beings. It hopes to perform for audiences of all shapes and sizes, proving that even a radically symmetrical telepathic being can bring joy to the masses.
Now that is a beautiful goal, Floopy, and your unique perspective has certainly been refreshing. Are there any advice for other aspiring comedians out there? Perhaps even those without telepathic abilities or the power of levitation?
Floopy advises to find your own unique voice, to draw humor from your own experiences and observations, no matter how unusual they may seem. And of course, to never underestimate the power of a well-timed pause, or a surprising psychic probe of mild amusement.
Floopy the Flumph and the ever-insightful Zelthar, thank you both for bringing some much-needed levity here to Crossroads Chronicles, and we wish you all the best in your comedic endeavors, Floopy. May your audiences always be uplifted.
And may your neural pathways be filled with mirth.
That was the hilariously buoyant Floopy the Flumph, and a big thank you to Zelthar for his invaluable translation services. You're listening to the Crystal Network here at Moonhaven Falls. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes our episode for this week. If you were entertained, amused, intrigued, or engaged by this, there's a couple of ways that you can help to ensure the show's continued production. Please take a moment to like the video, share it with a friend, and leave a comment with your thoughts below. If you're listening in a podcast platform, a quick rating is actually invaluable to us, and we very much appreciate you taking a moment to let other people know that we're worth listening to. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel or follow the podcast. It's a free, simple action that is absolutely essential to the continuation of our production. And for those of you who wish to directly invest in the future of our work, please explore our community on Patreon. We offer several membership tiers with exclusive benefits, and of course, your financial support is what makes it possible for us to deliver this kind of content week after week. We genuinely appreciate all of you showing your support, and we would like to thank you for continuing to do so. And I look forward to seeing you next episode.